Welcome, I'm Dr. Saida. This is Redefining Femininity, an interview series that I've been doing with some incredible people. And today I'm very excited to introduce you to Lauren. Lauren, welcome. I'm going to say a little bit about you because you're such an incredible woman, and this little blurb really won't touch the surface, but here we go. Lauren Walsh is the founder of the Global Sisterhood movement, and she's the creator of Wounds to Wisdom. Sounds good. I want some of that. She's passionate about healing the wounds between the masculine and feminine and the rising of authentic sisterhood. And I saw that in action last night, and I experienced it. And
you did experience it.
I did. Mm-hmm. And as long as I've been journeying, it's fabulous to even go another layer deeper. And so I really appreciate the beauty and the invitation that you hold.
I'm so happy you came.
It was the International Women's Day yesterday, and she held this incredible event, Free the Feminine, absolutely amazing. So speaking of which, I'd love to know, Lauren, what does it mean to you personally, the word femininity or femininity in general?
Oh, throughout this campaign, I have to say that I've been very humbled. The reason why I chose this campaign, Free the Feminine, is because I don't like the conversation free women.
Right.
I'm not into that. I feel like that's one layer that needed to happen, and now I really do believe it's the feminine principle that needs to be liberated in all. And so to answer your question, I feel like the feminine truly is the mystery. It's the non-linear, the creative, that I guess that yin magic where all is possible. However, I think we've had the feeling that the feminine was passive. It was a passive element while the masculine was active. And I think right now femininity is being redefined as actually active as well. There is even in that doing that being, who's to say being isn't active?
Right.
And I think that's a paradigm shift, because I even find in the world of running a business that I'm like, I have to keep doing versus being. If I'm being, it's not so much that I don't understand the value of just being and receiving. I actually have this projection of the world that the world is not going to see the value in what I'm doing. They're going to think I'm not a good CEO. I'm not a good leader. I'm just being. Right. So it's like really having to really put emphasis on the power of the feminine and what that means, and as a culture, as a society, redefine it so that we can have harmonious balance, not just gender equality.
Right.
We don't need to be the same. We just need to be balanced. And I think masculine and feminine obviously exist within every single one, and some have more femininity, some have more masculinity. And how do we create a system in the world where there's room for that?
Yeah.
There's room for all those people to shine.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you. I'm curious, because that's a very particular definition of femininity. Was there something that happened on your journey, a particular moment that allowed you to come to that conclusion?
I think I've always been sensitive. I've always felt very deeply and seen in a dimension. Here's a perfect example. As a kid, I had trouble in school. They labeled me with a learning disorder. I can't say learning disorder without stuttering. I'm still trying to get that out of my system because it was such a big label for me.
Right.
But I was told that I had a learning disorder. And it was because there were certain questions that I couldn't take at face value. For instance, a perfect example is there was a question that was asked, is this apple red or green? I couldn't answer it. Because I was like, I see green. But you might see my green as your red, in this whole so I would have these problems when I was younger. And it actually has turned out to be a really great gift for me. Although it was a very lonely gift, because I didn't see the world the way my peers saw the world, or the adults saw the world. And I remember I went seeking in religion to find that. I was always a very spiritual child. I came in that way, and I went seeking clarity there, and all I felt was that it was just this shallow level.
Right.
And I think I somehow along my journey have attributed that that essence of seeing in that way as feminine.
I love that.
Yeah. So I think from a personal experience of actually just being excluded and misunderstood,
Because you had that quality.
Because I had that quality.
Wow. I love this question for everyone because I love that personal moment. Because it makes it very real, how our definitions can emerge from experience, which is gnosis. So the last question I want to ask, which is kind of the bulk of this interview, is there's a lot of divisive discussions right now between masculinity and femininity, and the evil masculine and the can do no harm feminine, and
Yeah.
So I'm not that interested in that part of the conversation. What I am interested to hear from you is, what is it you think that the viewers could consider as we're moving forward to heal and create more harmony and harmonious dynamics between masculinity and femininity within ourselves and others?
Well, to take a piece of what you all said on the panel last night, it's to put down the fight. I think that I personally believe, and for all the men listening, please listen to my whole thing that I'm going to say here before you make an assessment of what I'm about to say. But I really do think it is the job of women right now to remember the qualities that we've shut down and turned off. And as we remember them, our emotional intelligence comes back online.
Right.
And through our emotional intelligence, there's a power. And that power is of manifestation, that power is of creation, and that power is also of healing. I think women are natural healers. I think the feminine energy, the feminine essence is a natural healing energy. And of course, men have that in them. But the more women that remember, because it's more accessible to us, just like it's just more there. It's more in the DNA. Not for all, but for most, right? I believe that the more that we turn that online, the more that just the connection between everything becomes stronger, and men can remember those qualities, feel safer in those qualities themselves.
Right.
And I do believe men gathering together and learning to process their emotions. But I think the most transformation I have seen from men is when there's a woman who's really in her power. Woman who really knows herself and like has compassion for what he's going through, compassion for the sexual traumas he's dealing with, addictions to porn and sex and women and flirting, and really knowing how to like work with that and not shame him, not blame him, but work with that. And that does not mean be a doormat. It does not mean that, but I really do believe women need to rise. And I believe through women rising, as long as we're not rising in this like rawr against fighting way, and we're rising as a remembrance, then I believe the world will balance.
Right. Yeah, I love that. So there's an aspect of what you're inviting us into is the inner work. It's like, okay, yes, we're upset, or there's all these things that have happened, but how do we integrate that?
Yeah.
And then, as you said, the emotional intelligence comes forward, and then that can lead.
Yeah. And also something you speak about, which I've noticed that I speak about all the time, is the victim consciousness and the blaming and the shaming and all of that. And this part's really edgy. And I one of my earliest clients, I spoke too soon about this concept and I scared her away. And I really learned my lesson around that, because there is that, how do we take the self-accountability for our piece? And it's like, how can a 6-year-old girl take accountability for what happened to her? She didn't do something wrong. You know what I mean? Although that's the imprint. But then when you're healing that, it's like you go outward to shame and blame what happened to you as a process of that healing. It just makes sense. But then at a certain point after that process, and that has to be a second part, the next level, where you're like, okay, but everything I have done and the choices I have made since then are mine.
Yeah,
exactly. And so how you can heal that, and that's a radical thing for people.
Here's to radical healing.
Yeah,
because it's needed.
It's so needed.
It's needed if we really truly want harmony and like dynamic harmony. It's not, harmony to me is not like this flat line.
No,
it's like very dynamic.
Totally.
If we want this aliveness that I think we all want, then we definitely need to lean in and do the work.
And that means compassion and forgiveness and empathy for the people who have hurt us. Gratitude at some level for the people who have hurt us, because within every wound is the spark of your genius, the purpose that we're all here for. And so Yeah, I feel like, oh, there was another element I wanted to say, but I think there's also the piece around diverse opinions. So your truth, your full truth, could be different than my truth.
Yeah.
But it's all within the same truth on the different spectrum of the wheel. And I think that is a really hard thing for people to grasp.
Yeah, and I don't think it's possible if you haven't individuated. And if we've spent a lot of time oriented and identified it in our wound, we can't individuate. We can't become our sovereign selves.
Mm-hmm.
And so the journey into sovereignty is the acceptance, okay, these horrible things have happened. Now, how do I want to orient to that? And that is not my identity. So what is my identity? And then coming forward and, as you said, just being able to have that diverse wisdom that emerges from all our unique life experiences. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Lauren's incredible, amazing wisdom. For the viewers, I have a little invitation for you, so stay tuned. You're invited to join this amazing conversation. Soon I'll be doing a training, Redefining Feminine Power, and I want you to be there. So click the link that comes with this video, join. Just for joining, I will be giving you a free downloadable gift, so definitely watch out for that. And if you can't make it at the time that the training is happening, don't worry. Because you've signed up, we'll make sure you get the replay, all right? So all you need to do is just click on the link, join the conversation, and let's redefine feminine power together.